All right, I'm here with an incredible coach. I think he would consider himself the strength and conditioning coach here at McCort. And as we know, they're some of the strongest and toughest wrestlers on the planet. So I want to know kind of behind the scenes what's going on. So I got Brian Silfies, right? Silfies in the seat here. So welcome to Fighting for Success, brother. Thank you for taking time out to be here. You got a tournament going on inside, but you stepped out here and you jumped in with us. So welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So I kind of just alluded to it, but you're the strength and conditioning coach. Was that the?
Yes.
So what does that look like? So we're dealing with high school kids. What is the formula? What are we dealing with here?
Well, the way that I program for them is based off of a conjugate method or West Side methods from Louis Simmons is where I learned all my stuff.
Okay.
Well, I owned a gym in New Hampshire for about 25 years and trained athletes from 8 years old through professional athletes. And then when we moved here, they gave me the opportunity to work with these guys and told them what I believed and how we should get things done. And it's been going really well so far. So we pretty much are doing everything all the time. So we're doing some explosive stuff, some higher rep stuff for hypertrophy, and then some heavyweight stuff. And then depending on where we are in the season or if we have a big tournament coming up, tweak it here and there.
Yeah. Before we get into like the nuts and bolts of the training and stuff itself, what's your background?
I went to school for it, which I didn't really learn much in college about the reality of things.
Yeah.
But then I started personal training first, and then some of the clients that I had brought in their younger athletes, and I realized that I had a lot to learn on how to work with them. So I started studying that, like Mike Boyle. People that are nerds about this stuff will know some of these names, but and then Louis Simmons I really got into because I saw like, you know, I'm a lot like Bill with I see like if somebody's the best at something, let's go learn from it. And he had the strongest gym in the world. He had all kinds of guys squatting over 1,000 pounds, benching over 1,000 pounds. And so I started reading all his books and then talked to him one time and he invited me out. And my son and I used to go out there, tried to go like every other month at least and spend a week in Columbus, Ohio with him and, you know, learn as much as I could. And he was really cool. The thing that I really remember about him, he would give me free books and he would say, you got to read this for your athletes. You got to do this. And one time I was just like, and I had been on his podcast a few times and I was like, well, you know, why do you do all this stuff for free? Like I've paid high level trainers $800 to follow them around for 4 days. He's like, cause you know, I didn't invent anything. I just learned it and I like to pass it on. And he said, 95% of the people or more won't even do it anyway. And you're doing it. So I like it, you know.
That's cool. That's cool that someone like that would take the time.
Very.
That's awesome. Before you got into the training, what's your background? Are you a wrestler? Or
I wrestled in college, and then I got into some MMA for a little bit.
Okay.
It wasn't really called MMA then.
Yeah.
And some kickboxing, boxing. I even, you know, and then I competed in stuff like bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman.
Okay.
Everything till I was about 44 years old, I think.
So
45 maybe.
When you're growing up, are you an athlete?
I played all sports like most of us did back in the day.
Yeah.
Played baseball, wrestling, and football.
Okay.
And then dropped baseball and then dropped football.
Yeah. What made you tough? You have a hard background? Like, what's up?
Yeah, I've been through stuff like everybody, you know. Where I grew up was a little rough, you know, but it's just how it was then, you know. You get in fights and maybe at first you didn't want to because you were young and innocent, but you figure it out.
Gotcha. So as you're growing up in that environment and you're learning, how much of like wrestling and learning about your body helped you as a young man?
I think wrestling did a lot for me because I think if I didn't wrestle in college, I probably wouldn't have graduated because I didn't really care for school and wasn't great at it, but you had to have a certain GPA to keep on the team. And it also structured my day because in college you have so much free time, and I really messed that up my first semester because it was just like, oh, I could do whatever I want, but there's consequences. So I think it did a lot for me, and it helps build your confidence, and then it led into, you know, wanting to try other, you know, combat sports like boxing and kickboxing and not be afraid of it, you know, and just continue to grow and develop myself mentally and physically. And
that's good. what has kept you I mean, you know, you said you've been doing this for so long, and what's kept you, because motivation comes and goes, what's kept you disciplined this long?
I think it's because of wrestling, because I think it's just a lifestyle that, you know, you just don't want to get too unfit. And I've surrounded myself with really good people like Louis, and then I've become really good friends with Joe DeSena. I don't know if you're familiar with him. And we talk a lot, and he challenges me a lot to do things that make me uncomfortable, you know. So I do the ice baths and the saunas, and I've done long fasts with him, like 3-5 day fast. Well, they're long for me anyway. I know people do longer.
It's tough though.
He did a crazy bike challenge with me. I think it was a year ago, like right around Christmas, that we had to ride the Airdyne for like 40 miles a day. And it was like him, John Reeder, who's a coach at Wisconsin, 2 Navy SEALs, and a Delta Force guy. And I was like, this is crazy. But, you know, I did it because I think it's, you know, it all comes back to that wrestling mindset. Like you got challenged, so you step up and do it. And I'm a big believer in staying uncomfortable and doing things you don't want to do. Yeah,
I firmly believe and say all the time that all good things come through suffering. Do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah. Do you lean into the suffering? What's your take on suffering? Do you look for it, or do you prepare for it? I believe we can get better at suffering. Is my thought.
Yeah.
Is that your thought, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, I think eventually you don't really look at it like suffering. I think other people do.
Right.
I think it's like a lifestyle and things you just choose to do. I'm a big believer. I think this is what you're saying. Like sometimes some of my friends here will be in the gym. They're like, put your mind someplace else. And I'm like, no, put your mind into the pain.
That's right.
Like delve into it and become friends with it. Like, I don't think you should like put your mind on unicorns or something when you're suffering. You gotta delve into the suffering, I think.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point. Is it to me, when we're, you know, especially as wrestlers and things like that, we kind of learn to suffer well, and it's applicable. So like, if you when you have a loss in your family or you go through something hard, doesn't mean that thing's not going to hurt, but suffering it's the same, right? It's so it's just different levels of it. So whenever, you know, I go through something hard, you know, it be whether it be a business choice or whatever be the case, I know how to suffer. I've done it so many times in the past that I can start doing the same things I did when I was tired on the wrestling mat or, you know, struggling in the weight room, whatever the case, and it's applicable. Is that how you've kind of mirrored your life along as well?
Yeah, and I think you know that it ends.
Right.
You know, so you just get through it and go through it.
Yeah.
And I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at delving into it and accepting it and not trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
And not trying to... Like, I think my faith has been grown tremendously just in the last 3 years. And I'm 52, so I try to talk about that to people, that it's never too late, because there's so much information on that in the Bible. I used to be a voracious reader. I read everything, but now I pretty much just read the Bible, because I realized a lot of the books I read were just taking stuff from that.
Yeah.
Which is cool, you know? But, I think that with your faith and knowing that there's better things coming, I think that makes it a lot easier too.
Yeah. Yeah. With the faith element, and because I think sometimes suffering you could become masochistic in a way. And I've seen people find their identity in suffering, and that's not what I'm talking about. And I think the same thing with you. I think what faith does, it gives us a great understanding of what suffering is, and allows us to process it in a healthy way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, when you say something like that, I think of like a David Goggins, who sometimes I feel like, personally, from my perspective and in having faith, I feel like he's kind of made himself the man, and he's on his own throne, and he didn't put Jesus on the throne. Right. So I think he's missing out a little bit, even though he's incredible badass. I read his book. His story's amazing. Yeah. And I respect him, you know, but I think he needs to find God, and I think things will be a little different for him.
I agree. I think, man, and I think when it comes down to it, is like, as a man, we all want to feel validated in that, you know, like that we are something. And sometimes becoming the baddest man on the planet is that thing. But the problem with that is at the end of the day, you still know who you are.
Right.
And we all need a savior.
Yes.
You know, and then I think that's a great point to make, is like, you can be tough, but until you're found in Him,
Mm-hmm.
you're still looking, you're still searching.
Yeah, and that's why, and I think you'll just run out.
Yeah, for sure. So, with the kids, are you teaching mindset alongside?
Maybe a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a constant theme in there, but
Yeah.
Bill does such a good job of that and does so much of that maybe it just takes little reminders here and there, you know?
Yeah, and yours is practical stuff too. It's like, let's do this, but there is mindset inside that.
Right.
Whether they know they're getting it or not.
Yeah. I mean, they just have it. These kids have them. This is a very, very special thing.
It really is. I mean, I'm on the outside looking in, but I see these kids and I'm sitting there talking to them and they're not, I'm talking to Bo and I'm like, hey, bud, you sound like you're made in a lab. You're too good to be real, you know? And, but it's incredible. The type of people that you guys are, men, and that you're producing. And that's a testament to you guys, and that's cool. With your background, do you see a change from generation to generation with these kids? Because there's this whole thing that kids are just soft now. What's your thought on that?
Well, it's the parents' fault. They're just kids.
Yeah.
Parents don't want their kids to be uncomfortable, and so they don't push them. They coddle them too much. It's hard, you know. I have a big soft side, and when my son was suffering, he was little. It was hard to make him go through it, but
yeah,
you got to raise a man, and he's got to learn that life is suffering, and you know, and to just deal with it and get through it. You can't baby him all the time, because then life's gonna knock him down too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are just kids. Nothing's changed other than the parents. You know, it's the parents' choices if they're gonna let them stare at their phone from the age of 3 to whatever.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. And yeah, you said it is tough as a parent sometimes, because you don't want to see your kids suffer, but you know, we know that that's the only way for growth.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's also like I can just do this one little thing and take that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But we end up doing, actually, because life's going to deal up some suffering.
Yeah,
and
so
we end
you're
up
doing
doing disservice for sure. Do you have like a mindset, like practice or motto for your life that you go by?
Well, I start and end every day with prayers on my knees. I read the Bible every night, and then sometimes during the day, and then a lot of self-talk, a lot of good self-talk. I'm a huge believer in that. So like if I'm not feeling great, like today, maybe I'm fighting off a cold the last couple of days, whatever, I'm just telling myself I'm healthy, I'm strong, I feel great, I'm blessed, I'm happy to be here. And I talk in my head a lot.
That's good. Yeah. There's always a conversation going on.
Might as well run it.
Right. Yeah. I talk to a lot of people about that. It's like, there's a voice that unless you can take and kill the other voice, it's talking negatively to you. And part of, you know, my coach and stuff like that, we talk a lot about like silencing that voice and becoming the narrator of your own life.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. We all know it, but we don't talk about that a lot. It's like, what are you listening to? If it's not you, it's not God. It can only be the enemy.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my son, that if you're listening to the voice in your head, that's the devil. Because the devil's telling you stay in bed, to eat the cake, because he wants you ruined. You got to talk to God.
Yeah.
Which is talking to yourself.
Yeah. And that's a skill in itself, right? A lot of people, I don't hear from God. It's like we're not having enough conversations because he's always talking.
Right.
It's like whether you listen or not. Yeah. How do you guys hear? Because it happens. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit with the boys. When you're the best, you're going to have criticism. You're going to have hate. How do you all handle that?
I think it's awesome. You know, I mean, we dealt with it a little bit yesterday. Like my son had a tough match in the finals that didn't go his way in the end, and the crowd went nuts. And actually, that got me more calm. I was just like, this is awesome, because if you can't deal with that in life, you can't succeed.
Yeah.
Because that people will bring you down, and you won't do things to make them more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think that you know, some people say you gotta love the haters. I don't know how true that is, but you gotta love being hated. Maybe you know. I don't know.
No, I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Because that just means you're doing something right.
Yeah. I was telling the boys earlier. I was like, I don't know why. Well, I do, but there was a long time there that I just hated the Patriots. They're just great, right?
Yeah.
You know, but there's also in the scripture and the word says that, you know, Jesus says, if they hate you and they do these things to you, remember they hated me first. There's just there's a human like tilt to hating people that are doing well, that are right, that are living the right life. And I think that, and I was encouraging the guys, is like, it's going to happen because you're doing the right things. You know, so it is good company to be kept whenever you're, you know, the haters are hating, you know, so.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? I got sent in here.
Oh, we got coaching right there, but you'll be next if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait outside?
No, just back inside. Yes, I don't want you freezing it out up there. Yeah, cool.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. So that's just to that point is like I seen it because I got to be at conference yesterday and I was watching it, and you know, even the bad calls, because there was, right?
Yeah, that was
it's your son. Yeah, and I'm an outsider, and I'm watching, and I'm like, yeah,
it was
it's bad.
But that's okay.
And there's a lot to be learned there, and a lot of teaching moments.
Tons
in that.
Tons of growth can come from that.
For sure.
I thought it was awesome, actually.
No, that's a great attitude to have, because most parents, a lot of wrestling parents, losing, and there was some yesterday, things didn't go their way, losing their minds, making a big spectacle for their kid to watch and see, and now the kid starts acting up.
Right.
You know?
You're telling them that's how you should act and feel sorry for yourself. I mean, it took me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard in the moment.
Yeah.
But there is so much there. And we talk all the time about there's more to be learned in losses and adversity than there ever is the victories.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're training these kids and these young men. What's the principles that go into it? Like, what's your thought? Because some people are like, oh, they're too young to train this way or whatever.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
Like they'll put the people that say that will have their kids doing gymnastics, which first of all, I think every young kid should do gymnastics.
Right.
Because that's the foundation of all athletics, which is fine. But some of the competitive stuff, they'll do like 7 hour, you know, and all these kids, they're typically girls, they're breaking their ankles, getting stress fractures.
Yeah.
Because they're doing so much, which is fine. I don't know enough about that to be critical, but it's nuts that they say that you can't lift weights if you do it properly.
Yeah.
And build the foundation. Like Louis Simmons wrote a book called The Rule of Three on training young kids, and he told me how to train Jack when he was young. And my son is very strong for his size and age and weight and all that, and he'll continue to be because we built a wide base. You know, so they're dragging sleds. There's simple things they can do. You don't just have to throw a bar on their back and tell them to squat or deadlift. You know, and most people don't know how to teach it properly either. So then that is an issue. But it doesn't mean they shouldn't be doing it. It just means maybe they shouldn't be doing it with you or who they're doing it with.
Yeah. Are these? And I know this answer, but how hard are these boys training?
It's insane. I've never seen anything like it. I owned a gym for a long time. I've worked with, like I said, Division I athletes, professional athletes. Like I have friends that were World's Strongest Man, Magnus Magnus, and Half Thor. You know, like I know a bunch of these guys. I've never seen anything like this.
Wow.
And they love it. They're like in there having a good time, smiling. Like it's just who they are.
Yeah, where does that come from?
I mean, I think it's just what Bill built, right? So like when we came here, like my son wants to be here, but he's never like done this much. But everyone else is having a good time, so you know what I mean. It's the vibe in there.
It's the culture.
It's the culture that Bill created.
Gotcha.
And it's special.
The buy-ins there.
Yeah.
That's cool, because most people are looking a way to get out of the hard stuff. These young men are leaning into it.
Yeah, and not only is the training hard, but the schedule's insane, right? Like they start the year at Ironman, then we go to the Hall of Fame duels in Oklahoma, then we're at Powerade. Like you're wrestling all the best kids in the country in 1 month, you know.
Man.
And practicing, like we have practice before we have local duels just to get a workout in. We have a full practice and then go to the duel.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. And I heard you talk about this a little bit earlier, but in your personal development and just in people's personal development, how important is mentorship? Having people around you?
Extremely important. Yeah. Extremely important. I think Louis was really good for me in a lot of ways, mostly professionally. And then meeting Joe and hanging out with Joe. There's been times where we talk every day for a few weeks, and then every once in a while we let it go for a little while. But without him, I wouldn't be who I am right now for sure.
Yeah.
Between challenging me, mentoring me, because I would fly off the handle a lot, and he was good at getting me to. For some reason, with me, like I felt like if I didn't do that, I felt weak or something, and so like I would talk through things like that with him.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about my relationship with him. He's made a huge impact in my life. He's a special guy.
That's cool. What do you think was the driving force of that other man that said, I'm gonna snap? Because we're talking, these aren't just wrestlers watching this. These are fathers. These are men that struggle the exact same way, because I understand that feeling. I want to hear from someone like you. Maybe that helps someone that has that same trigger. What was it? What were you thinking? What was the thought?
When I wanted to snap?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking. It was just a reaction to something I didn't like.
Yeah.
Pretty much simple as that.
Yeah.
Something didn't seem fair to me or didn't seem right to me. Or, for me, it could have been anything, though, like somebody looking at me the wrong way, saying the wrong thing.
Is that a part of like a product of your upbringing, just the culture you're part of?
I think it must be, yeah. Because I honestly couldn't really explain that. I can only explain like how I deal with it now. Sometimes I really love our church here. If you come back, I would highly recommend going with us. But sometimes I feel like he's speaking right to me. The pastor's really, really good there. Yeah. And there was one thing like maybe a month ago that I just keep hearing over and over in my head is blessed are the peacemakers.
Yeah.
And so I've really tried to be in there, and that stuff helped me. But my faith has helped me a lot with that, because I'm more aware that God's watching and God has expectations on me, and I can't look like an idiot. And my son, I've blown up in front of him so many times. It's just it's just something he's gonna have to figure out, I guess.
Sure. And he's seen the transformation too.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he'll focus on that. But.
Yeah. If I'm writing the book of Fighting for Success and your chapters in it, what key parts of your chapter would you say and you would teach to other people that would lead them to success? If you could put a chapter in there and this is your chapter, what would you want it to say?
Be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would think, because all the things I've been doing for so long, maybe it's hard for me to remember all, but, get up at 4:30 in the morning, get in the ice bath, get in the sauna, read the book, find that mentor. That's awkward sometimes for a man to go to another man and say, like, I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
I think that's uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've done it so many times, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I don't know.
That's great. Yeah. That's great, because I think that's a great point. Is like, I think pride for men keeps them from growth.
I agree.
And I see a lot of boys dressed in men's bodies because of that pride thing. I've got it figured out, and it's like, man, if I can take from this person and grow from this person, I'm always looking. My buddy Johnny DeJulius, he says, I steal from everybody. And it's good, right? That's good. I'll take that. That's good. I'll take that. Yeah. And that's been the easiest and the best way for me to grow. It's just observation,
right?
And being involved with other successful people
and being humble.
Yeah. I mean, the more I think I know, the more I realize I know nothing. It's just, and I love that. I love being a student. I love learning. And which is funny is in school I didn't care, but that was teaching me things that
you don't care about.
And I used to say I hate school, but no, I didn't hate school. I hated the process in which that was the box that I had to go to.
Right.
But I love learning. Yeah. And I would say probably this group of young men that you have, they have to have an eagerness to learn.
Well, Bill's real good about that too. That's another thing that I really respect about him. He says he has a white belt mentality all the time. I know nothing, teach me whatever.
That's good.
I'm open to learning, bringing another coach, show me something you learned somewhere. You know what I mean? He's not ego driven, like this is the only way.
Wow.
And I think, that's very wise. And I think that's why he keeps growing. And then all those kids see that, like, have a white belt mentality. It doesn't matter how good you are, you can be better.
Yeah, that's really good. I got some rapid fire questions here.
All right.
It just real quick and they're easy little question. I mean, there's no wrong answers, but what's one word that would describe your journey to success?
Probably Probably painful.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing that you do every day to fight for your success?
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Who inspires you to keep going?
Jesus.
Nobody greater one than that. If you could go back in time and tell yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't mess around with women.
Every downfall, every yeah, yeah. What's your definition of success?
I think having Jesus in your life, having joy, not chasing happiness, and doing something you love every day.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So as I have guests in, I pray and I think, and I allow the Lord to kind of download as we're talking, and just give me a character of the Bible or a word to speak over my guests, and I like to close like that. And as you're sitting here, and you'll see kind of probably why I felt this particular character strongly in my heart, but I like to ask God why. But the character I got was a Samson, okay, and obviously easy pull for the power and stuff like that. But I was asking God why, because like, yeah, we got a strong man here, and you know, that's what we equate Samson's story to. But the story of Samson, it's deeper than that, right? It's the man had incredible strength, but only when he became distracted by women. And I didn't know that whenever you said that, before you said that, Lord, give me that word early when you first walked in, and I didn't hear your story. But he got distracted, and that's when he became weak and was able to be overtaken. And God was saying to me that with all of your strength, it's the focus, that's the refocusing in your life that's giving you that strength. That if you lose that focus, you lose everything.
Yes, sir.
And God was just saying that you're a very strong man, and but it's because of the focus now. It's the distractions of the world of the past were the things that broke you, that caused the house to fall on you, that caused all the things to crumble around you. But the refocusing and keeping yourself planted in that is going to be the strength of your future, the strength of your faith, the strength of your coaching. Everything you do will be revolved around that focus. A lot of people, and you know, when you're growing up, you hear that story and you think it's about a guy getting a haircut, but it's about a man staying focused. And I just want to encourage you that the Lord has a special plan for you, and it'll be found and sought after and known in that focus, that he will speak to you in that quiet time, in that focus time, in that's his word, is that your strength is now your focus.
Awesome.
So
thank you.
Yeah, man. I thank you for what you're doing. You're instilling a lot in young men that will take this forward, and whether you know it in the moment or not, you're changing generations.
That's awesome.
And that's a cool thing.
Yes, it is.
So, dude, thank you for stopping by and being a part of what we do here and telling your story. Where can people find you? Are you on social?
Yeah, I have a little side thing called Matt Muscles. I'm on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And do some programming for wrestlers around the country and stuff.
Nice. Okay, so they can actually hire you out to help them with their stuff. So Matt Muscles, and you said Instagram and where? TikTok. Okay. Yeah. Awesome, man. So look him up. Brother, I appreciate you. Keep fighting for success, bro.
Thank you for the opportunity. You too.
Awesome, man. Thanks, bro. That's a wrap.
Okay.